through Virginia skies. Hanover moving and the city's alive. One more hour to own this town. WRVA, never slowing down. Wake up rich and win the day. Or spend the whole day playing catch up anyway. Richmond's morning news keeps you running strong. 9 a.m. Let's roll all morning long.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's Richmond's Morning News. News Radio WRVA 904. I'm Rich Herrera. We've done this little thing that's grown into something really special. When this first opportunity came up, and we've had him on the program before, Dr. Murray Sabrin, but there was an opportunity that we could visit with him weekly and count down to the 4th of July, our 250th anniversary of this founding of this great nation. And I thought, okay, we'll give it a try. We'll see what happens. And it's turned out to be something insightful. Feedback's been great. I've learned a lot. I think you've learned a lot as well. So as we get down to the last couple of weeks before the 4th of July, we'll bring back on Dr. Murray Sabrin. But today's little lesson in U.S. history is going to be a little bit different because this is not going to revolve so much around our founding fathers as we lean into their principles, especially in times of great turmoil. But this is actually going to be something more personal that we're going to discuss with Dr. Murray Sabrin, who joins us here on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rich. It's great to be with you. Summer started, and hopefully everyone is enjoying the first days of summer.
Absolutely. You said something maybe it was last week in passing about citizenship tests and naturalization. I didn't realize this. Explain.
Well, my parents and I and my older brother came to America in 1949, and 5 years later, they became U.S. citizens. I remember that day vividly. This is November 1954. They went to, Lower Manhattan, and I was a nervous wreck as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, because I was told that they had to take a test in order to become U.S. citizens. And in my 7-year-old mind, I'm saying, what if they don't pass the test? Are we going to be deported back to West Germany, where I was born in 1946? And so I was pacing back and forth in the living room. My younger brother was only a year and a half old. My older brother was watching us. I think there was a neighbor that was watching us as well. And they came home, and I asked my father, what type of questions did they ask you? And he said, who's the first president of the United States? I even knew that as a second grader. And so the questions seemed to be pretty easy. Fast forward 5 years later, I and my older brother went with my parents to the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. And I raised my right hand and swore allegiance to the United States of America and to uphold the Constitution. And I had my citizenship papers with my Elvis Presley hairdo. And here we are at the brink of the 250th anniversary. And the point I keep on making, and I've made this numerous times over several decades, including when I was a candidate for U.S. Senate in New Jersey, that I've kept my loyalty to the United States by upholding the principles that gave us the United States of America. Unfortunately, members of both political parties have veered dramatically from not only the principles of the Constitution, but the principles of the Declaration. And that's why we have so much polarization in America. That's why we have fiscal irresponsibility, endless money printing, high regulations. And to me, it seems that we need a reset. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because if we don't have a reset to the founding principles, a lot of bad things are going to happen down the road. That's my view of economics, history, politics, philosophy. And I think we have the opportunity to do something wonderful for future generations. Unfortunately, the people on the left want to take America down a road that will make us another Cuba or another Argentina, with high inflation, less goods on the shelves, which I've seen in Cuba firsthand, where the shelves were basically empty.
Well, let me jump in here with you, because I think we're seeing this with all the people coming over from Europe and around the world to watch the World Cup. They're going into Buc-ee's like, I could never imagine anything like this in Europe or other parts of the world. They go to Costco like, what is this? They see the lifestyle of Americans. And again, we take it for granted. I know I did. I didn't understand a lot of this until the last couple of years coming here to WRVA. I've made some trips. I had never been outside the country before. And I saw the difference in our lifestyles and those in Italy those in Ireland. I think we're getting ready to announce we're going to go to Scotland next year, and
Yeah.
we're going to go to France. People are amazed when they come here at the United States at the abundance that we have.
It's remarkable. I mean, think about it. You get up in the morning, you turn on a light switch and you get lights. You turn on the air conditioning, you get air-cooled air in the summertime. You want something, you go online and you can order it online from any of the major e-commerce sites, or you can go to your local mom and pop shop and they have things that you want, or they can back order it quickly. You can buy a car online today with Carvana and some other websites. I mean, it's amazing the choices we have. And that's really what freedom is all about, the choice to do something or not to do something. And unfortunately, the people on the left don't understand that. They think one size fits all. And that's why the collectivist mindset really drives me crazy, given here we are in 2026, and we've seen how the 20th century unfolded with the communist revolution in Russia, the Nazi revolution in Germany, the communist revolution in China, the Cuban revolution in 90 miles from the United States, and they've all ended in disasters.
But they haven't done it the right way yet. Next time we get a chance at having this incredibly awful idea from Karl Marx and Joseph Engel, we'll do it better. That's what they always promise us. I need to go back on something.
This is the naivete, and I think the intellectual dishonesty or intellectual bankruptcy of people on the left. They really don't understand the fundamentals of human interaction. It's called markets. It's called free markets. It's called voluntary exchange. It's called prices going up and down according to supply and demand. This is what gave us this great economy, and we're squandering it because of the out of control spending in Washington that both parties are guilty of.
Right.
And I'm not taking a partisan position here.
Nope.
I'm trying to do this from an analytical perspective, having 50, 60 years of research in this area. And it's really appalling to me, as someone who spent 35 years in a classroom teaching young people about finance, that the people in Washington don't know a damn thing about finance.
They don't. They really don't. Can I go back and ask you something personal?
Yeah.
Conversations you had with your parents before they took the test and they were hoping to pass, and there was that dream of becoming an American citizen, and then the pride they had after they came home and they said, I'm an American.
That was something that I said to myself, boy, we're going to be in America. We're going to grow up in America. When we moved to the Bronx in 1953, I entered second grade. My father and my mother said, just go and get an education, because my father was working in a sheet metal shop. I don't know what his salary was at that time in 1953, but I remember seeing a pay stub that he brought home one day, and I saw he worked 40 hours, $3 an hour, $120 a week gross pay, and his take home was $108 because there was no state income tax, no federal income, no city income tax,
right? And
then Social Security was minor. So he kept most of the earnings, and he was able to feed a family of 5 and put a roof over our head in an apartment, a nice apartment in the Bronx, and that's how we lived. And then on the weekends, he would occasionally drive a cab to earn extra money so we could go to the Catskills and spend the summer in the clean, fresh air of the Catskill Mountains.
I mean, think about your dad. Works, listen, that's not easy work. And then he takes on extra jobs just to give you. We have kids right now that don't even appreciate that. My dad was a cop, and then he would work in a liquor store. There was a local liquor store that would hire off-duty cops to work because they weren't going to get robbed, since all the cops worked there and everybody knew stay away from that place. But he would pick up little odd jobs just to make the ends meet. And now you tell these kids, oh, that's the lifestyle we live. They don't even understand it. The whole idea of the American experience of taking that naturalized citizen test and then raising your hand to swear allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. We're going to have a couple big naturalization ceremonies they have annually. One's going to be at Mount Vernon on the 4th of July, the other in Monticello on the 4th of July. When I meet people that have become naturalized through the experience, I'm amazed at how much patriotism I see from these people. And I wish native-born Americans could understand what these people knew that they didn't have and what they gained by raising their right hand and swearing allegiance to the United States.
Well, this is the real irony, because I was invited many years ago to speak to a naturalization swearing-in ceremony at Ramapo College and also at Newark at the federal courthouse in Newark, New Jersey. And the point I made is, and I think it's a very poignant point, is that the naturalized citizens have, I think, an enormous responsibility. They take an oath to the Constitution. Native-born Americans don't take an oath unless you get sworn into to office. And so there's somewhat of a disconnect between naturalized citizens who swear allegiance to the Constitution and uphold the Constitution, and Native Americans sort of, as you pointed out, take it for granted that they're native-born citizens, and we think that everyone will embrace the principles of the Bill of Rights, which to me is similar to the Ten Commandments. If you follow the Ten Commandments, you're going to be an upstanding human being. If you follow the Bill of Rights and the government follows the Bill of Rights, we're going to have a free and prosperous economy.
It's amazing. Both my grandfathers, they had their naturalization papers framed, displayed proudly in the living room. I just found a picture of my grandfather who came from the Philippines. And Marie, your dad came here from Germany, became a sheet metal worker when you were a kid.
Yep.
My grandfather came here from the Philippines, started as a porter in a hotel, then went up to Alaska and worked for the fish caps, decided it was too cold, came back down, and became a cowboy. And he went from the Philippine Islands to being a cowboy, wearing a cowboy hat and boots every day, working on the ranch the rest of his life. It is an amazing country. And for him, he was one of the most patriotic people I know and I ever met. And I remember he wanted his citizenship papers over the top, above the chair that he sat in when he came home from work. And he would sit down. I remember he would look at his citizenship papers, get a little bit of a smile, and then he would sit down. But he always wanted to have that displayed over his head because he was so proud of it.
Absolutely. I mean, the pride that you see when people take their oath of natural citizenship, it just shows you people from all over the world can come here and embrace the American ethic, which is you work hard, you don't bother anybody, you provide for your family, and you don't expect anything from the government. I mean, unfortunately, because of all these entitlement programs, remember, when I became a citizen in '59, there was no Medicare, Medicaid, or all these other entitlements that the Great Society created in the 1960s, and that made more and more Americans dependent upon the federal government. That was an antithesis to my parents. We were never on welfare when we came to America. My father started working in the pencil factory in 1949 at $1 an hour. Wow. And then he got a sheet metal shop job for $3 an hour, and he made pretty decent money driving a cab. And then he got his own cab in the early 60s, and he was a taxi cab driver owner until he retired in 1981. And so he had a very good life. He lived to 87, and I think he would have lived a lot longer if he had taken better care of himself. Not that he
right.
He
but you go from being an immigrant coming to the United States from West Germany, working at a pencil factory, and your son's a PhD, only in America, right?
That's it. That's the beauty of the country. And entrepreneurship is really the heart of America. I really believe that. Having taught business for 35 years and speaking to entrepreneurs, I had a great guest last week on my podcast, Health, Wealth, and Pursuit of Happiness, Bob Luddy from North Carolina. He took a small kitchen ventilation system and turned it into $1 billion business in 2026.
Wow. All right. When I make it big, I'm going to come on your podcast. Dr. Maury, thank you so much. We'll wrap everything up next week as we get closer to the 4th of July. God bless you. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you next week.
Ray, thanks so much, Rich. You have a great week.
All right. Take care. Today's program brought to you in part by our friends at Loan Pronto. Are you spinning your wheels? Are you just paying down that credit card, the minimum balance, or maybe just a little bit more? Just never seem to chip away at that ridiculous credit card that is now up to 29%